In the beginning, it is explained that an effortless man working for an exploitative company and a university dropout had no special traits to speak of. Yuuji Kuze kept chasing jobs in order to find a place where Yuuji Kuze could show Yuuji Kuze's full potential. It all ended in failure, with Yuuji Kuze being banished as useless, with no one relying on Yuuji Kuze. Before Yuuji Kuze knew it, Yuuji Kuze became hated by people and ended up being resentful of other people. Then Yuuji Kuze is shown standing on top of a building while looking down, thinking that it was a pretty sight, but immediately correcting that thought and blaming everything on himself. Yuuji Kuze then jumps off the building while thinking that perhaps this should have been done sooner and that maybe there would have been another chance to go to that place. However, just as Yuuji Kuze was about to fall, a girl noticed Yuuji Kuze, rushed over, and grabbed Yuuji Kuze, saving Yuuji Kuze's life. The scene then shifts, showing Yuuji Kuze entering a class while the narration explains that this was a common tale. Yuuji Kuze had messed up his high school debut, could not make any friends, and soon could not talk to anyone. Eventually, Yuuji Kuze hit rock bottom in the class cast. Yuuji Kuze is shown grabbing his head and sitting face down on the desk, while two students beside Yuuji Kuze wonder what Yuuji Kuze was doing and admit that they had no idea. Yuuji Kuze is then shown walking while wondering what Yuuji Kuze was supposed to do. Suddenly, a truck runs Yuuji Kuze over, and the narration explains that a truck ran over Yuuji Kuze, leading to the so-called reincarnation into another world. The scene then shifts to Yuuji Kuze appearing in an empty place, where an angel appears before Yuuji Kuze and praises Yuuji Kuze for arriving as a hero. Yuuji Kuze reacts in disbelief, but the angel calls Yuuji Kuze a lonely soul and declares that power will be granted. The angel gives something to Yuuji Kuze, and Yuuji Kuze realizes that it is a cheat skill. A screen then appears stating that Yuuji Kuze has obtained the cheat skill. The scene shifts again, and the narration explains that Yuuji Kuze died, got reincarnated, and obtained a cheat skill. Although it felt like a dream come true, there was nothing for Yuuji Kuze to miss in the previous world. Because of that, Yuuji Kuze decided to do everything in Yuuji Kuze's power and give it his all. Yuuji Kuze is then shown fighting a monster, while the narration explains that the cheat skill itself was not anything special. However, Yuuji Kuze possessed a top-tier weapon, reality, and was blessed with kind comrades. Eventually, Yuuji Kuze reached the final showdown with the Demon Lord. After an intense battle that lasted 7 whole days, Yuuji Kuze managed to defeat the Demon Lord. Yuuji Kuze's soul reflects that it was finally done. 3 comrades then approach Yuuji Kuze, praising Yuuji Kuze as a hero and congratulating Yuuji Kuze. Yuuji Kuze thanks them, and everyone gathers around Yuuji Kuze and hugs Yuuji Kuze. The narration explains that Yuuji Kuze, as the person hailed for the greatest feat, became super popular overnight. The scene then shifts again, showing the Saint Arya hailing Yuuji Kuze as a one-of-a-kind hero. Arya gives Yuuji Kuze a token for saving the world, and despite great regrets, Yuuji Kuze returns home. The scene shifts back to the original world, where Yuuji Kuze is seen speaking to a doctor and explaining that the events happened 5 years ago. The doctor acknowledges this and explains that Yuuji Kuze gained a burst of confidence in that world and graduated high school afterward. The doctor then states that Yuuji Kuze dropped out of university to become a temp. Yuuji Kuze confirms this, and the doctor adds that things did not go well, leading Yuuji Kuze to transfer from one company to another. Yuuji Kuze confirms this as well. Finally, the doctor asks whether Yuuji Kuze's memories as a hero are becoming more and more hazy. Yuuji Kuze agrees, and the doctor concludes that it appears Yuuji Kuze is suffering from otherworld returning syndrome. Yuuji Kuze reacts in confusion, wondering about an otherworld life. The doctor explains that many patients have recently shown similar symptoms and suggests that Yuuji Kuze has probably watched too much anime. Yuuji Kuze denies this and insists that Yuuji Kuze truly reincarnated, stating that proof exists. Yuuji Kuze takes something out of Yuuji Kuze's pocket and shows it to the doctor, explaining that it is a token granted by the Saint Arya for being a one-of-a-kind hero. The doctor responds that such an item is supposedly called the seed of the world tree. Yuuji Kuze confirms this. The doctor then remarks that it obviously looks like a pickled plum. Yuuji Kuze summarizes it by calling it a pickled plum. Yuuji Kuze then stands up and begins to leave, while the doctor says that some pills will be prescribed and asks Yuuji Kuze to be sure to come again. Yuuji Kuze reflects that ever since returning home, this is how things have been, as no one believes anything Yuuji Kuze says. Yuuji Kuze then bumps into a girl. The girl's boyfriend confronts Yuuji Kuze aggressively, asking what Yuuji Kuze is looking at, and proceeds to say cruel things. Yuuji Kuze apologizes, but the man punches Yuuji Kuze and slams Yuuji Kuze into the ground. The special token flies out of Yuuji Kuze's pocket, and the man smashes it under his foot. Yuuji Kuze begins crying, and the man tells Yuuji Kuze not to make creepy noises. The man claims that Yuuji Kuze bumped into them first and demands an apology, continuing to insult Yuuji Kuze. The man's girlfriend then approaches and tells him that he is making a scene and suggests letting Yuuji Kuze off this time. The man angrily sits beside Yuuji Kuze and says that he has no choice and cannot let Yuuji Kuze have this. He then takes Yuuji Kuze's wallet, declaring that he is taking it. The couple leaves afterward. Yuuji Kuze thinks bitterly that the wallet has been taken, but at least the seed was protected. Yuuji Kuze questions what difference it even makes, calling himself a hero while being unable to defeat a single thug. Yuuji Kuze reflects that even if the item is truly the seed of the world, what is being held now is nothing more than a pickled plum. Yuuji Kuze cries while thinking this. The scene then shifts, showing Yuuji Kuze coming out of a place, with a girl standing beside Yuuji Kuze. The girl remarks that Yuuji Kuze tried to kill himself by jumping off a building. Yuuji Kuze explains that Yuuji Kuze was a hero in another world, but no one in this world believes it. Without a demon lord, Yuuji Kuze became lost and did not know what to do, feeling as though Yuuji Kuze is gradually becoming dumber and growing sick and tired of everything. Yuuji Kuze blames it all on the piece of junk being carried and throws away the pickled plum. The girl looks at it and criticizes Yuuji Kuze for easily letting go of something that Yuuji Kuze had faith in just because others denied it, calling Yuuji Kuze the worst. Yuuji Kuze starts to respond, but the girl cuts in, stating that it is not what a hero would do. Yuuji Kuze admits that this is true. The girl picks up the plum and comments that this city only has people like Yuuji Kuze, then returns the plum, saying that it is important to Yuuji Kuze. Yuuji Kuze agrees that it is important. The girl responds that at least Yuuji Kuze has something important, questioning what is so bad about that. Yuuji Kuze looks at her, and the girl explains that this city would never deny those sorts of people. She then grabs Yuuji Kuze's shoulder and suggests leaving together. Yuuji Kuze asks where they are going, and the girl urges Yuuji Kuze to hurry up. Yuuji Kuze asks again to be told where they are being taken, and the girl asks whether Yuuji Kuze is coming or not. Yuuji Kuze reflects that this person listened without mocking, but still feels scared. Yuuji Kuze thinks that it does not matter whether people are good or bad, as Yuuji Kuze cannot trust anyone, and is afraid of causing trouble. Yuuji Kuze believes there is no place to belong. After reconsidering and looking up at the girl, Yuuji Kuze initially decides not to go, but then suddenly changes his mind and asks to be allowed to come along. Yuuji Kuze wonders why the decision changed just by looking at the girl's back, especially since Yuuji Kuze had been trying to kill himself earlier. The girl suddenly announces that they have arrived and asks if something is wrong. Yuuji Kuze replies that nothing is wrong. The girl tells Yuuji Kuze to get moving and says that this is the place. Yuuji Kuze observes that the entrance looks dirty and heavily tagged and wonders what kind of place it is. The girl tells Yuuji Kuze to stop complaining and go inside. Yuuji Kuze thinks that the place is dirty, shady, and suspicious, and also notes that Yuuji Kuze is not completely penniless. Upon entering, Yuuji Kuze greets everyone. Inside, Yuuji Kuze sees 4 girls. One of the girls then declares that the reincarnated one has returned. The scene then shifted, and each of the girls began introducing themselves. Gumi asked Yuji whether it was his first time ever reincarnating as a hero. Aubrey told Yuji that he also had a tasty potion. Zakuro stated that they first had to choose a cheat, and asked if Yuji had any preference, explaining that she was talking about fast. Tomo Senkuku told Yuji that he had to make a pact with her as the hero. Yuji reacted with confusion and asked what was going on, and whether someone could explain it to him. Sokonika introduced herself as Sokonika and stated that she was the shopkeeper there, adding that Yuji should try his hand at being a hero again. Yuji repeated the words shopkeeper and hero in confusion. Yuji was stunned by everything and thought to himself, wondering what was with their getup. As Yuji looked at everyone, Yuji thought that they were so hot and that the shop must be sketchy after all. Nika then said that Yuji was not a customer and that they would be putting Yuji in the back. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. One of them complained that all that preparation was for nothing. Another said that it was the first time she had ever said something without biting her tongue and called it a real disappointment. Another questioned how someone could make that up for her and expressed frustration. Another said that they should have been told sooner. The last one told the girls not to be mean to Yuji. Yuji then thought that they were not holding back with the disses and questioned what was meant by back. Yuji asked Nika what it meant. Nika explained that it meant Yuji would be back of house staff and would basically be providing follow-up to all of them. Yuji then thought about follow-up. Nika explained that she had told Yuji earlier that she was the shopkeeper there and that the shop was called Reincarnation. Yuji was stunned and repeated the word reincarnation. A girl then came close to Yuji and explained that it meant transformation and transfiguration, and that their shop was a café based on the concept of reincarnation. Yuji stated that he understood. Nika clarified that it was not a shady establishment. Yuji questioned what sort of establishment a café was. One of the girls explained that café meant a concept café, meaning that the café shop was made to match the concept. She added that the shop was a soulless spot for hosting heroes who would save the world, and that all of them hosted heroes who reincarnated. Yuji concluded that this was why they were dressed up like that. Nika confirmed and explained that she was a succubus. Gumi introduced herself again as Gumi, chief of sort, and added that it was well met. Zakuro introduced herself as Zakuro, a homunculus. Tomo introduced herself as Tomo, and stated that her role was beastfolk. Finally, Brule introduced herself as Brule, a demoness. Yuji said that he was pleased to meet them and thought that it was true that they had existed in the world and that he had first been reincarnated among folks of those races. However, as Yuji looked at them again, Yuji thought that they were really wearing some wild outfits. Nika then asked Yuji what Yuji thought and whether it was pretty amazing. Yuji responded that their costumes were very high quality and that the girls were cosplaying according to the theme of the cafe and engaging in roleplay. All four of them reacted to the word roleplay. One of the girls then remarked that there was no helping it. Another stated that being told they were role-playing was off-putting and offensive in many ways. Another said that she did not care as long as Yuji made a pact with her. The last one commented that Yuji was way off base. Yuji then asked whether he had perhaps said something wrong. Nika responded that it was fine and that they would take it from there. Nika added that they should be nice to Yuji because Yuji was going to be working there as well. Yuji reacted in surprise and questioned whether Nika was being serious. Yuji then thought about what to do and noted that they were very mad at him. Nika then explained that all of the cast of girls there, were the same as Yuji. Yuji exclaimed in shock and questioned whether, by the same, it meant that they had all tried to suicide by jumping off a building. Nika denied it firmly and clarified that they all had otherworld return syndrome. Yuji questioned whether all of them had it. Nika confirmed that basically they did, and added that she would bet that something like the hospital had mentioned that many people had been suffering from it lately. Nika explained that everyone told her the same thing, though each person's memory and how accurate it was differed from one person to another, and asked whether she was wrong. Nika stated that the girls all had memories of having reincarnated more or less, and that they could not get anyone to believe them. Nika added that she was the same as Yuji. Yuji began to sober up and realized that Nika was the same as well. Yuji questioned how that had not crossed Yuji's mind, and admitted that Yuji had always been afraid that people would keep denying Yuji's experience. Yuji realized that Yuji was not the only one who had gone through that suffering. Nika then asked Yuji what was wrong. Yuji kneeled down and started crying, stating that they did exist, and that other worlds existed after all. One of the girls reacted in surprise, and asked whether Yuji was crying. They all looked at each other and then moved forward. One of the girls repeated that there was no helping it. Another expressed frustration by saying, "Gosh." Then, one by one, they began offering comfort. One told Yuji to use a tissue. Another said that she understood because she had also been surprised. Another said that she understood, and that it could make someone scared. The last one said that she would be pleased if Yuji talked a lot with them. Yuji replied that Yuji was fine, and thanked them. Finally, Yuji thought that Soka was reincarnated as well, which meant something about what Soka had done earlier. Yuji recalled that when reincarnators returned to their world, they could use their cheat skill once. Yuji then returned to the present and asked Soka whether Soka had used her cheat skill earlier. Soka responded dismissively and told Yuji to buzz off and shove it. Yugi then said that Yugi was counting on both of them. Soka then asked Yuji what was wrong with Yuji and said that Yuji had been making annoying sounds all that time. Yuji responded that Yuji could not breathe and that Soka was suffocating Yuji. Soka asked whether Yuji had a problem. Yuji replied that it was not really a complaint but mentioned that Soka's chest was pressing against Yuji. Soka told Yuji to pipe down and warned that she would make Yuji work for life without pay if Yuji told them. Soka then released Yuji. Yuji thought that Soka was pretty nuts and wondered what Yuji should do. One of the girls then asked whether Yuji had any places in mind that Yuji wanted to try. Yuji hesitated, and another girl said that they did not mind what Yuji chose but that they were really short-handed. Another girl added that they had surprisingly good wages and that Yuji should at least give it a shot. The last one said that having a guy around would be a great help. Yuji then wondered whether they actually needed Yuji. Soka asked Yuji whether Yuji had already made up Yuji's mind. Yuji admitted that Yuji had not felt like that since the time Yuji was in the other world. Yuji said that there were people there who were okay with Yuji being with them, but that it was terrifying. Yuji admitted being afraid of getting betrayed by people Yuji trusted, and said that it scared Yuji stiff. Yuji reflected that running away was scary, and so was moving forward. But more than anything, Yuji did not want to run from the girls Yuji had just met, who had given Yuji another chance. Yuji acknowledged that there were actual people willing to face Yuji head-on. Even though Yuji had tried to end Yuji's life for good, Yuji concluded that, if that was the case, Yuji would become a hero there. Everyone was shocked and repeated the word hero in disbelief. Yuji asked whether they were against it. One of the girls explained that their customers were heroes and that there was no chance Yuji could become one. She stated that brilliant tales of saving the world and slaying the demon lord were just myths reserved for special people, and said that Yuji daydreamed too much. Another girl commented that she loved how boys had such big dreams. Another suggested that maybe she should aim to form a hero's party. Yuji realized that they were not understanding at all and insisted that they were off base, stating that the truth was that Yuji had really been a hero. All of them then responded one by one. One remarked that it was good to be young and so spry. Another said that she did not care whether Yuji was a hero or whatever, and told Yuji to form a pact with her. Another told Yuji to save that sheep talk for when Yuji woke up. The last one sarcastically said that they knew Sir Hero. Yuji thought that they were just messing with Yuji at that point. One of the girls then asked Soka whether Yuji was seriously okay in the head, since Yuji was claiming to be a hero. Soka responded that it seemed to be true and stated that Yuji was the great hero who had slain the demon lord in that world. Everyone was then surprised.